Brian Bentley is a former LAPD officer who says he understands Dorner's frustration. He was on the force for 10 years in the 1990s, has been outspoken about what he calls rampant racism at the LAPD. He says he was fired for writing a book called One Time, the story of a South Central Los Angeles police officer, detailing what he said was misconduct, racism that he witnessed while he was with the LAPD. And Brian Bentley joins me now. So Brian, thanks for being with us. You were on the LAPD for 10 years in the 1990s when the department was dealing with a number of race-related scandals. And I know you don't condone in any way what Dorner did, but you say you understand some of his anger. How so?
Well, of course, I understand because as a police officer, I learned the hard way. There isn't a place to express your opinion if you're a whistleblower. You're automatically become an outcast. You automatically are harassed by supervision, and there's nowhere to turn. You can't go to attorneys because if you're fired, you don't have the money. If you don't have the money, you don't have money to seek counseling, to get help. And so you feel like there's nowhere to turn. And when I wrote my book, the purpose of it was because I felt there wasn't an outlet for me to express what I was dealing with. And I turned to writing as opposed to doing what he did. But some of the things that I wrote about, I hadn't seen them since I wrote about it until Dorner expressed his feelings in his manifesto.
Do you believe the LAPD has changed, though? Because, I mean, minority recruitment is up significantly. They have made huge efforts of outreach to the community in L.A. Do you think there has been significant change?
I know there has not been change. There has not been a significant change. It's different from when I came up. When I came up, my training officer looked at me in my eye the first day and told me, "Hey, you're black. You don't belong in this job. My job is not to train you, it's to get you fired because you slipped through the cracks." Of course, they can't say that anymore, but that opinion is still there. And that view of the department still runs through that department. And there's lots of proof to that claim.
There is a process in place. I mean, Dorner in his so-called manifesto talked about violating the blue wall of silence when he reported his partner for what he says was unnecessary kicks to a handcuffed suspect. Those who believe Dorner should have gone more through the system say, well, look, there's a system in place. He went through that system and his charges were proved baseless. To that you say?
Well, of course there's a system, but that system is designed to silence officers. You have to look at the bigger picture, which he didn't see, which I was schooled on as a rookie, is that when you tell on a police officer, you're not only going against your brotherhood, you're fighting the whole city of Los Angeles. You're opening the department up for a lawsuit. And so you're fighting the city of LA and all of its resources. Lawsuits are a big issue with the police department, and they pay out more money than any other entity in the city of Los Angeles.
The LAPD, the Chief Beck, has said he's going to reopen the case that got Dorner fired. Does that give you some hope?
Well, no, I go by his first statement, and it was, that will not happen. And I firmly believe that he feels that. And it's not going to happen. It can't happen, because if he opens that case, I personally know 50 officers who want their cases reviewed also. And that just opens up a whole Pandora's box.
Brian Bentley, I appreciate you being on the program tonight. I want to check back in with John Miller, who's a former top member of the LAPD, familiar with the department's strengths and shortcomings. He's with CBS News now. What do you make of what Brian has said? I mean, is there a process in place? Does it work?
I mean, first of all, I think we got to separate a couple things, which is, Brian was in the department in the 1980s and 90s. This is 20-some-odd years ago. We talked about the 1991 report after the riots that talked about racial divisions and problems in the LAPD. That's 20-something years ago. A lot has happened since then. So let's baseline this. Are there racists in the LAPD? Sure they are, only because there's racists in CNN and CBS. I mean, somewhere in the basement of this building there's someone who was raised by their parents to think that way. But that's because police departments, like any other outfit, they don't recruit from the planet perfect. They recruit from the human race. So you have to build that factor in and then have systems to check that and to catch that. Now let's talk about progress. When John Mack, the president of the Urban League in Los Angeles, became the head of the Los Angeles Police Commission, That was a big step forward. Connie Rice, the top civil rights lawyer in Los Angeles, has said repeatedly in public and in her book that she has seen a sea change in relations within the LAPD and between the LAPD and the African American community. You look at Los Angeles, it's got a roughly 11% African American population. If you look at the command staff of the LAPD, 22% of their captains and above are African American. The 3-star chief of operations, my good personal friend and a superb cop, is Earl Pasinger, an African American who grew up in South Central LA and was a commander there for many years. But if you want to get micro instead of macro, look at this case. There were 2 captains who were the judges in the Board of Rights that Christopher Dorner says was so unfair and racially prejudiced. One of them, he may or may not have been aware, is married to an African-American woman with whom he has several children and is a commander in South Los Angeles, where he is revered by the community and beloved. So it's not perfect. No place will be. But I think the progress has been marked, and for the LAPD, dramatic.